Hey, Alina Wilson here from Estimate Mastery, and today I'd like to show you how you can see in your estimate where you might be missing line items. And so I'm going to go into detail with this in Xactimate, but I've taught thousands of contractors over the past 10 years, and there just seems to be these little places where people keep leaving money behind. So I'm going to show you how I avoid that, and then also show you how it can add up over time and make a really big difference in your business if you don't know what you don't know in Xactimate. So let's go take a look. First of all, one of the places that I see people making a big mistake is by not updating their price list. So of course this is really outdated here, but you can tell, let's just go over to the estimate. This is a dummy estimate that I use. And just here alone, we've got, 22,763 for the pricing. And if we go ahead and reprice this estimate, which is super simple, all you need to do is be inside the estimate and go over to the price list, and there's a little hamburger menu. Drop that down and then go down to the bottom, request price list, open that up, and you can find it by zip code and then by date. So be very careful here that you have the correct date as well. So just choose today and then enter the zip code. And all right, now that I've got that date in there, we're going to go ahead and download right there. And that's going to bring in the most updated price list for my area by zip code. That's the way I like to look it up. And if you go in here and you don't have zip code selected, just be sure you can drop down that list. I did want to show you that really quick. And then we've got our new price list here. I'm going to just click next. It's going to go ahead and ask me if I want to reprice. I do. I don't change any of these. Perhaps you have a specific trade or something that you would want to skip. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it can do a couple things. I actually never really have changed this before. I'm going to left click OK and accept those differences. And we have $1,500 right there in one estimate because I did a reprice. And I know it was in August 2022 price list that I just happened to grab this older estimate, but still, even 3-4 months back before the storms, maybe February 24 or February of the year that you're in right now, which means it's before the storms hit. You could have a low price list and then have the storm hit, and now you're in July doing the work and you forget to reprice. You can leave quite a bit of money on the table, and it may not be $1,500. Let's say it's something like $750, right? So $750 multiplied over, I don't know if you do 5 or 10 jobs a month, even 5 jobs, that's $3,750 you left behind that month, multiplied over, I don't know how many months you do a lot of your work, but that could be 30 grand into 1 year just because you forgot to take an action and reprice. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to talk about over here at Estimate Mastery, because I can really move the needle on your profitability if I can teach you how to know what you're doing. So the other place that I go all of the time to see, what's included, what's not, how do I know if I need to go ahead and add another, different line item, and that's what's called your click for detail. And a lot of you might roll your eyes, yeah, Lena, we know what click for detail is. But have you ever actually sat down and read a lot of these? I would advocate that someday, by the time you've written estimates over time, that you've read for most of the click for details on these estimates. But even right now, if you're new, start reading the major components of your estimates. Read their click for detail. So here, the replacement of shingles. That's where you can start just today. Just by reading one, I would start with replacement of shingles. If you're a drywall person who does a lot of drywall or painting, I would just read the drywall line item, read the painting line item, what's included, what's not. So like for the roofing here, click for detail. Notice that it tells you the class and the weight range. Okay. They also will go into here about how the pricing reflects local nailing code requirements. Roofing material components are surveyed as roof stocked price as opposed to in-store shelf price. So they're sourcing the pricing from a material warehouse, not Lowe's. Consideration may be needed for situations such as abnormal pickup delivery outside of normal range. That means that I should charge when I have to hand carry the debris off the roof or hand carry the shingles up onto the roof. All right, and yeah, there's some good stuff in there. The other thing I want to show you, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to Sketch really quick, and I'm going to go ahead and add just a new level, and I'm going to add it down below the other levels. So we'll go down to 90 here, and we'll make it level 1. There we go. I just did that by hitting that plus sign. That brings up this menu. And then we're going to throw a room in here so I have a clean room to work with. let's go ahead and add our paint line item. Let's say we're going to PNT seal and paint. Seal, prime, and then paint. And you can see here at the click for detail, it goes into depth on what's included, what's not. So a coat of sealer, coat of paint, all of that. Just reading through that, I'm not going to bore you with it, but I do want you to see the manipulation of larger or excessive amounts of content items warrant additional activity. It's, let's see here, a reasonable amount of this kind of prep work for resetting the light switches and the simple light fixtures. I would argue if you have like a chandelier or some kind of large light fixture, that needs to be added. This is only for like the average amount for a room. And so that's why I lean heavily on the click for details in order to charge for these, above average items that I'm having to pay someone to do. So if I'm having to pay someone to detach that chandelier, that's going to be an extra charge. It's not included in the click for detail, and I will quote that to the adjuster. So I'm going to left click OK to accept that line item. And I'm going to show you here, there's a couple of cool things that you can do to research what line items you might be leaving behind. So we'll just put in here paint. Go into your category. Every line item has a category, and I would drop down the selector list. This is how I learned about the paint high charge as I started reading through the list. Did you know that if you have a wall or ceiling over 11 foot, you need to be adding a high charge for that wall and or ceiling, that part of the wall and or ceiling. Same with 14 foot. So if you're working on a lot of custom homes, we worked on Hurricane Harvey in Houston way back in the day, and there were tons of custom homes with really high ceilings, and that's 16 cents over of a ceiling over 2,000 square feet, let's say, or some of those homes were huge. Let's say that the 2,000 square feet, you're leaving behind $320 on every job. That's going to add up over time, and that's the kind of stuff, just things that you don't know what you don't know, that you need to pay attention to, and it adds up over the course of just a month. It could be a big deal. So that's what I would say. Not only look at similar, so let's go back to roofing and choose that replace line item and go to similar. That'll pull up some similar type shingles. You can also, like the gable cornice return here, if you want to go to similar, did you know that they have the 2-story or greater charge for this gable cornice return? So anywhere that you have this style of line item, you read through your click for detail, and then if it's higher than 2 stories, they've got a line item for that. And those are the kinds of things that you want to keep on your radar. Now, sometimes the Eagle View will include the gable cornice returns or return strips, and so the adjusters say, oh, that's included in the squares of roofing. Fine, that's fair. But then I'm going to need extra labor hours because I cannot walk on the field shingle to address this area. So I'm going to add some RFG LAB labor hours, or LABL. You depend on which labor is doing that work. You can charge accordingly, and just dependent on how long it takes for that arts and crafts project on the gable cornice return, it can really add up. Going around the house, if you have let's say 6 of those, and you've got a guy who's got to put up his ladder and take it down 3 times and do his arts and crafts project, that RFG labor is going to add up, over time. And you're already paying your guy to do it. You're working for free, basically. You're not getting paid for it, but you're paying your guys. It's coming out of your pocket. So, an extra 2 or 3 labor hours, whatever you want to estimate on that, can really add up quick, just depending on who's doing the work. So, of course, click for detail. Hourly rate for a roofer. An LABL is more of a general labor kind of situation. So if it's actual roofer installing that, that's the difference between those 2 line items. So it's your call. Ask the adjuster if explain the situation to him. You included your line item for the gable cornice return. That's included in the Eagle View. Well, I still need labor for my guy to go set up and take down the ladder, right? So the big takeaway here is to think outside of the box, meaning everything that's average is included in Xactimate on some level in a lot of cases, but always check your click for detail to see the definition of that. And if you see something that's missing, that's where we have our paint line items that I was showing you, the paint high charge. That is, those kinds of things are definitely warranted. So the other thing I would recommend is always going to the related search. You can go to similar as well, but similar is just going to bring up other paint options. Related is what is not included possibly for your job in that click for detail, that's where the related helps prop up and helps you learn some of those line items. And then lastly, once you're really refined and over time have written some good estimates, I would always go to the selector code list here and just take a look-see to see what's available. You can also search here. So I would search for high ceiling. That's how I found that high ceiling, additional cost for higher wall ceiling. So just remember, you can search here in your click for detail. That's how I found that high charge. And so that's some of the things you can start to learn over time, is learning to just look in your selector codes for your category of whatever main component that you're working in. But today, I would say if you're a beginner, just start focusing on your click for details. Over time, start using that related search. And then, if you really want to do a deep dive, start studying your selector codes. It's kind of the order of operations that I would say for anyone who's using Xactimate. So if you like this topic, please be sure to go ahead and like this video, and that lets us know over here that you're liking this type of, missing line items kind of content. We also have a list of missing line items that you can click in the description box down below and go and see the most commonly missed line items that contractors are leaving behind. And if you want to go ahead and give us a subscribe, that lets me know that you're appreciating what we do here at Estimate Mastery, and I thank you very much for your subscription. And of course, we release these kinds of videos every Tuesday, so be on the lookout for next week. Hope you have a great week in your business, and I'll see you next Tuesday.